think have failed to answer like specifically. And I think a lot of people, a lot of Americans would agree with them if they're just able to define this in a like reasonable way. I'm not saying that they've defined it in an unreasonable way. I'm saying I just don't know how they're defining what is okay and what is not okay, or are they defining everything as okay? Like, in which case I would disagree. I think there is some speech, and I think it may be just a little bit, maybe a little bit less than what is allowed now. Not by a lot, but a little bit less. Like, I think the threat of violence can be, like, I think there's more ways of threatening violence than what is kind of, like, established by law now that could really do deep and serious harm to people. But where is that line drawn? Where is that line drawn? Or do you not want to draw that line anywhere? I don't know. And I think I'm personally willing to draw that line in a very reasonable place. Some people aren't. Some people are unreasonable in one direction and unreasonable in another. But I think there's a line, and I think the line has to be drawn and respected. Because that is, I think, the way that we achieve a free and open society, as these people say. Just keep listening. It's the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. Hello, everybody. My name is Spencer Walsh. We got a great video for you today, as always. Today we're talking about a situation that's very interesting, and it's a situation that I expect to be talking about a lot more if Joe Biden gets elected, which right now it looks like he will. And that is the conflict between the left and the right sides of the Democratic Party, the Bernie Sanders wing and the Hillary Clinton Obama wing of the party. And I'm going to show you guys, because you may think, now that Bernie Sanders is out and there's no real competitive primary, there's no reason for strife on the Democratic side, at least inherently, except for the fact that this is going to be a civil war battle that will literally never end. It will be a fight to the death. The Democratic Party will never, like, it is in a civil war. It is very divided. Like, anyone who says otherwise is just absolutely crazy. Like, they're delusional. They're trying to sell you something. Like, they're either delusional or they're trying to sell you. Like, however the old saying goes. So, whatever. The point is, you see what is going on here, and we are really seeing this happen. It's like, let's just say the Biden campaign and the Democratic side of things has not been so, or the centrist side of things, the right-wing side of things, has not been very gracious in their kind of, I would say, relatively BS victory over the Bernie Sanders campaign, the primaries. Because let's be honest, Bernie Sanders deserved to win that campaign. Like, if you talk about it by any like typical indication, in terms of organization on the ground, in terms of fundraising, small dollar donations, in terms of volunteers, in terms of people that he had on the ground organizing for him, in terms of raw enthusiasm that he had for his campaign, nobody else was even close to Bernie. Not Biden, not anybody, not even Elizabeth Warren, not even Pete Buttigieg. Nobody was close. Bernie Sanders had the most excitement. Bernie Sanders had the most enthusiasm. All it took was a few establishment phone calls, and he was out. It was like the momentum, like the rug was completely cut from under him. That is what killed his campaign. And, of course, a large part of what killed it, I think, was his failure to react to it. But that is, of course, a conversation for another day, a conversation that has been had, conversations that will be had, especially if we get another situation like this again. But, of course, I'm sure you remember the Hillary Clinton campaign throwing together a little party, like impromptu Zoom party to celebrate Bernie Sanders being exiting from the race. So they're really celebrating there. And here, I think, again, it reminds you how they really feel about you. Here, this is an Obama pollster on MSNBC. Here's what he has to say to the people. The millions of young people, the Latinos, the black people, the Asian people, the gays, straights, like people of really all walks of life that voted for Bernie Sanders this primary cycle, and people just not being enthusiastic about Biden in general, which is not necessarily about Bernie Sanders people. You got to understand. This is what he has to say to anyone who may be a little bit concerned about Joe Biden.
Here's the tougher question. You and many people would look at that as amazing. What do you say to critics of Joe Biden, including potential Obama coalition Democratic voters, who have said, you know what? It's much harder to put together a reel like that for Joe Biden, who's actually had a longer career in politics, that there isn't the same enthusiasm, some say, that when you look at other measures like online searches, people aren't searching to hear what Joe Biden's saying right now. Fair or not, what do you say to that?
Shut the hell up and grow up, right? We've got a guy who is an existential threat to everything you believe in, right? Shut up. Get in line. Let's get rid of this guy, and then we can argue on the other side of this.
That's the message, and it's really kind of what I think it belies is it's a fundamental misunderstanding of how elections work. Because to win elections, you can't just win the MSNBC Democratic watching base, right? You got to expand your coalition. You have to reach outside to other people, and the Democrats, they are just deeply riddled with a sense of entitlement. They think they're entitled to the black vote, and they also think they're entitled to the progressive vote because, I mean, why would they not think that? The progressive vote has gone to them every single solitary time. Like, they don't need to worry about it. I mean, I think really, in large part, that bit them in the ass in 2016. I mean, not really to a large degree, actually, because a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters ended up voting for Hillary Clinton, so it didn't really bite them in the ass there. But in years past, the progressive vote has always been loyal. The progressive vote has always been loyal. The black vote's always been loyal, and they've taken it for granted. And this really shows right here. The point of how you campaign, the point of how you try and win elections, is not by just telling everybody to just shut up and get in line. You have to convince them, because not everybody thinks that Trump is an absolutely existential threat, because not everybody is members of the Democratic Party base. Like, members of the Democratic Party base, liberals, left-leaning people think that. People who don't pay attention to politics, people who follow the news not very intensely, or people who may be on the independent side, maybe have voted Republican in the past, they're not going to be that quick to judge Trump as an existential threat. You gotta think about, how do I get these people to my side? You don't have to think about, and I'm sure they're not going to be very convinced by the message of, shut up, get in line, it's my turn. Like, this reeks of entitlement. It reeks of not caring about your voters and expecting them to vote to you. That is the expectation. That is the expectation here. And this mindset is what is going to kill the Democratic Party. That is what's going to happen. And that's why, if we do see a Biden presidency, it is going to be, I think it's really going to, more than a Trump presidency, it's going to be what puts the Democratic Civil War on full display. Because especially during Obama, when a lot of stuff was happening under Obama, the left didn't want to speak out because, A, there wasn't much of a very strong left at that time, and people are still, I think, very right so, given his approval ratings of popularity within the party, they're still very afraid of criticizing Obama. That will not be the case with Joe Biden. That will not be the case. If he does win, it will be because he lucked out and probably wound up with one of the worst incumbent first 4-year presidencies on record. Massive mishandlings of coronavirus, massive mishandlings of the racial animosity, and people overwhelmingly say the country is going off track in a bad way. In a bad way. So that is really what has been happening here. And he, despite running the most uninspiring candidate, the candidate with literally the oldest candidate they could probably run, I think, except for Bernie. But I think the thing about Bernie is he had the support of the young people, I think, which kind of did help negate his elderliness, because he was actually in touch with young people more than Biden and really kind of had an understanding for what they wanted. But look at this guy. Look at this guy. He's just so confident, so happy. He's like, yeah, we got this, guys. No need to worry, right? We're just going to do great. Yeah. We got it. No. You have to win other people's votes. It's not just going to come to you. We're not just going to hand you the election on a silver platter. You got to go out and say, hey, I'm working for Joe Biden. Here's why you should support him. Not being like, you think Trump's bad, right? You got to get in line and support him, because not everyone's going to be thinking Trump's bad. If that's all the message that the Biden campaign is willing to send, we are headed for disaster. And the Biden campaign is headed for disaster, because if they do get in there, they're going to see a lot of chaos, a lot of discord in the party, which is going to seriously hamper its legislative agenda, and they will not be anywhere close to fixing that with that attitude. And, for example, again, when the primary ended, you know why people, for those of you who may be wondering why the Bernie side of the people, they were so reluctant to support Trump, this is it. This clip right here pretty much encapsulates it. It's the puh, get away. We don't want you. Shoo. You're useless. We don't care about your policies. We don't care about your ideals. We'll call them the Green New Dream instead of the Green New Deal, when literally thousands of people, millions of people's lives, the fate of the planet depends on these policies getting passed. We're going to flick you. Go away. Like, that is the attitude. The attitude is just hate, dismissal, repulsiveness, repugnance. Like, that is what the Democratic Party, that's the attitude the Democratic Party displays to its base. And it's coming into fruition now, and they will pay the price for it. Mark my words. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough for listening to programming from the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. It really means a lot. So if you like what you're hearing, please consider supporting us by checking out our merch store available on Spreaker.com/TSWS. The link for it is there. Also, if you like what you're hearing, feel free to leave us a review on wherever or however you listen. You can do it on Spreaker by leaving a positive comment, and of course on iTunes by rating and reviewing us 5 stars, and on whatever possible program or site that you listen to SWRN on. Leave a nice review, leave a good comment, let us know your feedback, and also if it's negative too, I always welcome constructive feedback. Thank you so much for listening, and now let's get back to your show. Mind reader. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in today to the Spencer Walsh Radio Network, live here on Newsflash. Really, really appreciate it. That was a little bit of Democratic Party politics, and our coverage of the 2020 election continues with some pretty big news about the Joe Biden Unity Task Forces, and we'll just want to give you a little bit of a briefing about what you need to know about those. Are they worth it? Are they a legitimate attempt to bring the left into the party? And did the left win? Did the right win? Like, who got the better of these task force discussions and deliberations? We will let you know. This is a pretty interesting one, ladies and gentlemen. If you remember, I think a month or so ago, we heard about these unity task forces that Joe Biden was planning on putting together. He was planning on, of course, putting together some about pretty much every conceivable issue to give him some kind of policy recommendation that would better kind of balance the left and the right of the Democratic Party and make it kind of a cohesive, unified policy message going forward, and trying to, in kind of a name only, I would say, because no one really on the left was like, Biden's going to be a left-wing guy. Like, no. That was never really going to happen, but there are some pretty interesting recommendations in here, and Politico, of course, has done a write-up of the new policies, of course, that they have been released, and Politico has done a little bit of a write-up of them, so now we have them here for you. Let's give you a look at what's going on. So this is, of course, the not good news for the left right off the top. The left gets rolled on legalizing pot and legal protections for cops in this. And again, this is the stuff that, and I just want to remind you here, this is not necessarily like stuff that he says he's going to do. Like this is not just like this is stuff that, again, he says he's going to do. It's not stuff that he's going to do. He doesn't have to do this stuff. He's under no legal obligation of doing this kind of thing. Like, again, as Veep's Selena Meyer, or Julia Louis-Dreyfus says, a platform is a to-do list of things that you're not going to do. I was watching the finale of Veep recently, and I was very... I reminisced or compared it to the current scene where we have a kind of insurgent movement trying to push a major party nominee to the left, and him, of course, ensuring that, we're going to have one of the most left-wing platforms, so I'm going to be the most progressive president since FDR, like all that stuff. And then, of course,